Good evening. I call this meeting to order. Welcome to Madison Heights. It's the regular council meeting of February 25th, 2019. The time is 7:30. Will the clerk please take roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
I'm here.
Councilman Corbett.
Here.
Councilman Gettings.
Here.
Councilor Grafstein. Here. Councilwoman Scott. Councilman Soltis.
Here.
Mayor Hartwell.
I'm here, thanks. Can we have a motion to excuse Councilmember Scott?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Gettings?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Grafstein?
Second.
Any discussion on excusing Councilwoman Scott from tonight's meeting? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, would you please rise if you're able for an invocation to be led by Councilman Robert Corbett and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Infinite wisdom, we thank you for having given us the opportunity to meet together here today, and we ask most humbly for a blessing of our gathering. Brighten our eyes with greater understanding, enrich our hearts with compassion and courage, and again receive our gratitude for this opportunity of fellowship. Amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Would you please be seated? Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda tonight? All right, hearing none, we can go to presentations. We have 3 this evening. The first presentation is from the Michigan Department of Transportation regarding the widening project of I-75. Mrs. Marsh, do you have any comments?
Yes, we have Sue Data, the project manager for MDOT and the I-75 widening project, and she is here tonight to discuss the next segments of the I-75 widening project.
Sue, welcome. The floor is yours.
Yes.
I'm here today with Dennis Cooper, our senior construction engineer, and we're just going to go over the PowerPoint. So just a little background. This project was 20 years into planning and design, and we originally started with 9 construction segments, and we would have started in 2016 and be completed in 2034 for a total cost of $1.4 billion to modernize this freeway. So we knew that that wouldn't work because it's too long, and we could never, by the time we built it, it would be out of date by the time we get to the next piece. So it was accelerated. The first piece was accelerated in 2016. We completed and opened to traffic in 2017. The topic we're going to talk about today is segment 2, which goes from Coolidge to 13 Mile. And this is a design build. It's also accelerated, but it's 3 times as big as that first segment was. It's 8.5 miles. And there's 20 bridges in there that will either be replaced or rehabbed. There's about a half a mile in Madison Heights, with the most of it in the city of Troy. Again, we're about a half mile into the city. 18 bridge replacements, 1 removal, which would be the Waddles Ped Bridge, which would be combined with the vehicular bridge in Troy and the Crooks Rehab Bridge. We're going to be adding a lane. We're going to add that lane as a high occupancy vehicle lane in the peak hours. So generally 7 to 9 and 4 to 6 you would carpool, so 2 or more people could ride in that lane. The remaining about 20 hours would be a regular general purpose lane which everyone can drive in. We are also doing drainage improvements, and we're reconstructing the additional lanes that are there today. And we're adding aesthetic improvements and enhancements that we developed with all the communities and the stakeholders along this 18-mile corridor. As I said, this segment 2 that's going to be under construction starting, weather permitting, this Thursday is a design build, so it is fast-paced. It cost $223 million. It was let last summer, and we expect to be completed in the fall of 2020. We are adding the high occupancy vehicle lane, and like I said, it's generally 7 to 9, 4 to 6, and it'll open up at the end of construction in 2020, and there'll be signs and striping to indicate when you can travel in that lane as a carpooler. To support the HOV lane, we have enforcement zones all within the city of Troy that police can monitor and make sure that people are riding. There will be some sort of reciprocity period so that people get used to carpooling and the times. And also carpooling will be supported by our carpool lots. We have one at Adams that was recently reconstructed and has capacity, and we'll also be adding one at 12 Mile, like sort of like near the interchange that exists today. One of the biggest changes is the reconfiguration of both Big Beaver and 14 Mile Road. So those interchanges were of original construction. We haven't improved upon them. They're from the 60s design standards, and now we're going to reconstruct those interchanges as what they call diverging diamonds. So if you've ever driven at I-75 and University Drive, that's what they call a divergent diamond interchange, and that's what we're going to construct these two as. The diverging diamond provides obviously updated geometrics to current standards. It improves safety, it helps with crashes, better visibility, and less queuing on 14 Miles, specifically in Madison Heights. We are going to make accommodations for the multi-use trail. It's similar to the one that's in University, and it does improve sight distance for both motorists, peds, and adjacent businesses. This is just a quick graphic. It's hard to see, but you can see how the interchange is more in the center, and the loop ramps are eliminated. It's signalized, the black spots, there are the potential signals. And this is just a graphic to show you how you would go going eastbound 14 Mile through the interchange with the red arrows, and it shows you the points where there's signals, and that the yellow path, I believe, is the multi-use trail, so for peds. And this is just a reverse westbound with the blue, showing you how to navigate through that interchange. And we'll also do a video on how to do that, how to travel through it, and we have a good one out there for University, and it travels in, it's the same configuration, so. If you click on the lower left, there's a short clip on the black part. Yeah, right there where that arrow is to the left. Bottom. Down. I think we went ahead one. Yeah, there. It says, I don't know who's
I
in
can do
control.
it from my computer if
You
you
can
turn
do it?
that off.
You don't do it, let Melissa do it. Right there. Perfect. So if you click on that, it's not
I think
gonna
it's not
work.
going to work.
It's not going to work. Okay, well, I'll get it to you some other way, but it just shows you the sweep of what the existing interchange looks like, and then the diverging diamond coming in, and it just shows the dramatic effect of the interchange getting smaller and the geometrics, all being put into the center. Okay, you can click, please. We already talked about this, the benefits of the DDI. This is where you can talk.
Okay, construction update. The prep work was completed in 2018. That was a shoulder strengthening, crossover work, and prep for the work that we're going to do starting this Thursday. Weather permitting, we'll be out on southbound 75 doing further prep work for switching traffic probably in late March. So all the northbound traffic will be on the southbound side, 2 lanes each direction, beginning late March, weather permitting. Uh, 2019 work, the details of this work, it's a total reconstruction. All new concrete pavement, all new bridges, all new interchanges. All the traffic, like I said, will be switched to the southbound side from late March through November. And at that point over the winter, the northbound lanes will be all totally reconstructed and traffic would be switched back onto the northbound. Southbound would still be the original configuration over the winter. So from November till March, it would be back in its original configuration from 2019 to spring of 2020. Like I said, the Segment 2 2020 basically is a mirror of what we're going to do in 2019. So in 2019, all traffic would be on the southbound side. Northbound side would be totally reconstructed. And in 2020, it'd just be the reverse of that. All the traffic would be on new northbound pavement, new ramps, new concrete pavement, and the southbound side would be reconstructed, mirror image of what we did on the northbound side. And at the end of 2020, early to late fall, the 8-mile segment would be totally reconstructed, all the ramps, all the interchanges, all new pavement. Segment 3, that goes from 8 mile to 13 mile, and it's 5.5 miles long, and that is a design, build, finance, maintain project. By the next one. Yeah. So segment 3 is design, build, finance, maintain. That goes from 8 to 13. That was awarded to Oakland Corridor Partners. There's local contractors that will be doing the work. Dan's Excavating, City Hall, Ajax, and JD. We have a 14-foot diameter tunnel that goes from 8 mile up to 12 mile. That will, it's a drainage tunnel that will, update all of the drainage. I'm sure you're all aware of the flood that happened, I think it was in 2014 out there, so this tunnel is designed to never have that happen again. So that job would start in late fall, summer to fall of 2019, and that project will be built in segments. It will start in the southwest quadrant from 696 to 8 mile on the southbound side. So in 2019, we'll be doing some prep work there. And then 2020 would be doing the actual construction on that quadrant, and then would switch over to the northbound, the northwest quadrant, and then would do north of 696 in 21 and 22. And the total completion is 2023. And again, that's a total reconstruct. It's all new concrete pavement, all new bridges. Geometrics will all be improved, and there's a 25-year maintenance. Service drives and the freeway and the bridges, everything, that's part of the design, build, finance, maintain. Innovative contracting method. And so the developer will be responsible for maintaining that whole piece of roadway for 25 years. And I think that takes us to 2043, I think. 2048.
Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit on the aesthetics. I think if you guys drove through segment 1, which was from Coolidge to South Boulevard, you might have seen some of the bridges with the brick paving and the diamond design and some of the names embedded into the bridges. So we're going to carry that theme through the corridor, and this is conceptually what it could look like. This is actually a ped bridge. There will be ped bridges in segment 3. There is one in segment 2 as well, and this is kind of the theme that we would go with. So it's not your standard pedestrian bridge. It's got some character from the mid-century. It was a theme that was chosen through a series of meetings and design charrettes and working with the community and workshops, and this is kind of what everyone came up with. So you can see it's a brick pattern with the beige coloring and with the accent band, so it's kind of muted but very nice. After construction is completed, we will come back and we will replace the trees that we took out, because trees have to be removed to do the construction. And for at least for segment 2, which will be done in 2020, we anticipate coming back in 2021 with a design to replace the trees. We did that in segment 1, and we replaced a lot of trees in segment 1. We had to really take out a lot of trees for that job. It was even super accelerated, that piece. This one, we have a little bit more time, so we are, we have the ability to track a little bit more. So we'll replace the trees and do the additional landscaping with landscapers, so not road people, when we come back. To final schedule.
Yeah, segment 2 schedule, so in 2019, like I said, the northbound 75, March till November, under construction. There will be, some of the ramps will be closed. They'll be reconstructed, so naturally they'll have to be closed. There'll be detour routes provided for all the ramp closures. Pardon? Yeah, they're 2 lanes each way, like I said, would be maintained on the southbound side in 2019. 2 south, 2 north. In 2020, exactly the mirror opposite of what we do in 2019. So in 2020, everything's on benefit to 2020. You're on brand new pavement. We don't have to worry about potholes and all the rest of the stuff that we're dealing with now. You'll be on new pavement, new ramps, and that will be completed early fall of 2020. And like Sue said, then we'd have to come back in 21 and do some final cleanup and tree replacements. I think that's all we got. Thank you.
Thanks. May I ask some questions?
Yes,
First
sir.
of all, I want to thank you for joining us tonight, and thanks for the report. Very professionally done. I had a question about some of the bridge removals. What bridges will not be replaced? You said there's one that'll be permanently removed?
It's in Troy. The Waddles Ped Bridge will be combined with the vehicular bridge.
Oh, okay.
That's the only one. So it's being removed but replaced with the vehicular bridge instead of 2 separate structures.
Okay, I understand. And then, will all the bridges be taken down at one time?
No,
Like,
they'll be
what's the
staged.
process? It'll be staged?
They'll be staged.
And then what about the exits, the on and off ramps to the freeway?
The exits will be maintained unless they're under construction. The entrances are a different story, so you'll be able to get on at 12 Mile and Corporate, but at Rochester, 14, and Big Beaver, you will not. And the detour routes will be provided.
And we have, we're actually currently developing alternate routes for all the closures, so there'll be 20 different ones within this 8-mile segment that can just navigate you through if you're trying to get to a certain ramp. So I will be forwarding that on as soon as it's finished.
Oh, okay. And thanks for talking about pedestrian bridges. Madison Heights has one just south of 12 Mile. Will that be replaced?
That's with segment 3.
In
So,
segment 3?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So segment 3 is just, we just touched upon it really quickly just to bring you up to speed. We do have this developer on board that you saw with the financier and with the local contractors and the design group, but they do not have their notice to proceed yet. They have to get a number of plans in place before they get the notice to proceed, so we're just going off the information that we have to date, but it's always subject to change, so we're
Could you
hoping they get it soon.
Okay, I guess we'll wait and see. Can you remind us about the benefits of the design-build phasing for a project like this? You said it's faster.
It's faster. You know, typically it takes 2 to 4 years for designing and then additional 2 to 4 years for construction. So you're actually designing almost concurrently as you are constructing. So it speeds up the process. You're doing things more simultaneously, wouldn't you say? That's a good way to explain
Yeah,
it.
you're doing it concurrently because the design is progressing and allows construction to happen in conjunction as you're designing.
So the other way, we would design everything, get the approvals, do all of that, have a set of plans, then hire somebody, you know, go through that contracting process, then they come out, then they mobilize, then they construct. So that's several years long.
So you're able to start building on one end of the project while you're still designing the other end? Is that the idea?
Depends.
Somewhat?
Depends on how they choose to design their packages for review.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Were there other comments from council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
segment 3, I know you don't have that all in place yet, but the closing of 11 Mile, is that going to be like a half mile south with a new exit? Or am I totally wrong?
Closing of 11 Mile.
I thought I had read somewhere that that might be closed, or is that not true?
Short term or long term?
No, I think it will be. It is true. That exit is being reconstructed, so it will be closed for a period. We
For
don't have an exact
construction.
schedule. Yeah.
Right, it's not a permanent
not
closure.
permanent.
I think years ago there was, and this is where I think you're coming from, is we were looking during the environmental process about closing that exit altogether. And that's not the case. It's just going to be
So it's
closed
not
for-
going to be moved a half mile?
No, it will be moved, but it will only be closed for construction. So,
It
Okay.
will be reconfigured.
right.
Right, but when it reopens, it'll be where it was?
No, it'll be moved.
It will be moved.
Right.
Okay, is it about a half mile south
Yes. Yeah.
around Lincoln?
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
think so. It's hard to explain. We have
Thanks
to
for
come up
taking
with
these
a good
questions.
graphic.
Any other questions from council?
Your Honor?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions. Yeah, thank you for coming out. I appreciate that. So it looks like the total time frame is, what, 4 years? You said 2023?
5 years.
5 years?
19 to 23, yeah.
The majority of it is done within that, prior to that, or is that what you're saying, if I understood correctly, or no? The heavy work is going to be done,
The
it's
heavy
in
work will be
phases,
done,
correct?
and 19 will be some utility relocation, some prep work. 2020 through 2023 will be heavy work, and 2024 is when we do final cleanup and some other miscellaneous stuff.
Right.
So that's what we know today, but we obviously don't have a full schedule, and this is just from what we have.
No, I'm not in construction, so I don't know, but do you do any, like, time delay studies on traffic studies? Like how much more time it's going to take to travel 75?
It's going to take a lot longer to
A
travel
lot longer?
75. There's
Is that scientific? A lot longer?
We do study, but short of closing a freeway, there's nothing we can do. We have to live with the improvement. It's horrible for that period of time, but trust me, if you can get through it, you're going to love it when it's done. But, you know, this whole freeway, these 18 miles of freeway have never been reconstructed or modernized since the 1960s. So everything you see is pretty old and needs it. I mean, the pavement is falling apart, but it's also not a freeway we can close. Like, we closed the lodge, but that doesn't have interstate travel, it doesn't have the heavy trucks, it doesn't have the commerce, so it's just not an option. And we are maintaining 2 lanes pretty much at all times, minus bridge demos, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, we are maintaining as much as we can, and we hope that people will understand and take alternate routes. It worked quite well in segment 1, and granted that was only 3.5 miles, but after about a month or so, people got used to it, and I would say it worked fairly well.
Another question about 696, you know, when that whole debacle came about with the local union problems. Do you foresee that happening, or is it the same local that is working on this, or?
You know, I guess I can't say. right now, we're progressing with the union contracts the way they are.
Are you still,
Not anticipating any kind of labor issue this year, but that doesn't mean it won't happen.
because I didn't hear the resolution of why they resolved it, but so you're still going to use that local 324 and then,
That was the operators, and, I quite honestly don't know where the negotiations, if they settled. I know that I've heard nothing from our contractors that said, there's any issue with getting operators to work.
thank you.
Any other comments? Well, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be in touch. We have another presentation this evening. It comes from the Oakland County Treasurer Andy Meisner's office. With us today is Deputy Treasurer Laura Schmidt, who's also a Madison Heights resident, I understand. Laura, welcome. The floor is yours. Mrs. Marsh, did you have any comments?
That was it. I was going to introduce Laura, so.
Welcome, Mrs. Schmidt.
We're efficient here.
Hello. As Mayor Hartwell said, I am Laura Schmidt from the Oakland County Treasurer's Office. I am the Chief of Tax Administration, and I am here to really do three things. One, remind you that we're here, the Treasurer's Office. The county is here to help you and assist you in any way we can, as well as assisting taxpayers in the city. And with that, we are specifically here to talk about tax foreclosure prevention. Right now, we are in our heavy prevention time. The deadline for taxpayers to pay 2016 and prior taxes is April 1st. Otherwise, the foreclosure happens and they lose their property. We have to take it to sale, or the city has their first right of refusal. So right now, we are heavy into what we call our taxpayer assistance meeting time. We meet. There are six of us deputy treasurers who meet one-on-one with taxpayers every day throughout the day. I meet personally with 10 appointments every day, Monday through Friday, where I sit down one-on-one with people and we kind of look at the whole picture, look at their very top level of their budgeting and their finances and see where we can assist. We then figure out a monthly repayment schedule amount that they can afford that allows them to stay in their homes as well as get the taxes paid over the course of the next year. We also, during that meeting, provide them additional resources. We have a list of about 18 to 20 resources that we provide to people, things like making sure they're getting their principal residence exemption in the city. If they are entitled to their property tax credit, getting them information about the Accounting Aid Society, the Step Forward program from the state of Michigan that is available, and connecting people with certified housing counselors to help them with that application, as well as we have a financial empowerment center. And this is, again, one-on-one with individuals, with taxpayers. It's a free service that we provide to allow people to sit down with a certified financial advisor or financial counselor to go through their budget, go through their finances, and provide them resources with budgeting or credit, improving credit scores, just different things that they have available, different options that they have to try and educate people as much as possible to give them, quote unquote, financial freedom. With that Financial Empowerment Center, there's also a small business aspect of it. We have a literacy financial boot camp for entrepreneurs. I have some flyers that I'll leave here at City Hall for you guys, that helps people who are interested in starting a business every step of the way. So everything from figuring out their funding, microloans that might be available, small business financing, things like that, getting them in touch with the right people, as well as helping them with cash flow analysis and really determining if the market can hold and support their business. So we have people who are certified financial counselors that help them through this process one-on-one. So we do it for individuals as well as potentially small business owners or people who are looking to be small business owners. And then as we progress towards kind of the ultimate goal of getting people to paying back on time to the city, because that's our goal at the treasurer's office. We don't want to have people paying us. Our fees, our state mandated interest and fees are exorbitant. So the goal is to get people caught up. So through these taxpayer assistance meetings, we are really looking to do that, to push people to getting paid and getting caught up and paying back on time to the city, because that benefits them the most. And then just, again, we're here as a public service for you guys as a city. If we can help in any way, as well as to the taxpayers, we try and do that. We try to keep open lines of communication. I know Ms. Marsh, I had much communication with her when she was the treasurer here in the city. So just trying to make sure we improve those communication lines and let you guys know about things that we're doing. And I know that they sent the tax foreclosure prevention video, and we appreciate that that was posted already. So as council people and members of the city, we encourage you to encourage your residents in your districts that it's so important to reach out to the county treasurer instead of just walking away or kind of burying their head in the sand. Encourage them to reach out to us. They can call our office. Our main line number is 858-0611, sorry, 248-858-0611. The staff is fantastic. They can answer all their questions. They can schedule them right now for a taxpayer assistance meeting, because those people who are facing foreclosure this year need to get that meeting done by March 15th. So anybody, if you know anyone who might be facing foreclosure, tax foreclosure, we encourage you to tell them to reach out to us right away, get scheduled for a taxpayer assistance meeting so we can help them. So our ask of you is to just communicate that we're here to help as much as we can. We don't want to foreclose on homes, especially primary residences. It's just an unfortunate part of the state statute that we have to follow.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. Are there any questions?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
So those are incredible programs, and I love the fact that you're here right now letting our residents know about them. Was wondering if your office would be willing to take the show on the road a little bit. I think we've got a couple of boards, perhaps the Active Adult Board might want to tie in and do some sort of a program where you could bring some of that education into the city where our residents are.
We'd love to. One of the reasons we're here is to kind of begin that communication and to figure out the best way we can do that. So we would love to get connected in that way of reaching out and becoming more involved in taking these things on the road. The one way we have achieved that to this point is that in the evenings, we've allowed people to meet with us in the evenings on 5 specific occasions throughout Oakland County.
Okay.
We've taken our taxpayer assistance meetings on the road in the evenings. Not necessarily our whole package deal, but a lot of people work full-time jobs, so taking time off to come to our office is very difficult. So we did meetings in kind of all 4 corners of the county, as well as evening meetings in Pontiac, trying to reach as many people for that side. So in addition, we'd love to begin kind of taking the rest of our resources on the road.
Awesome.
So I don't know how exactly we will go about that.
I'm sure our staff will be in touch. One thing that would be really great, I think, would be to have a program and then have it recorded, so that way it could be on the city's YouTube, accessible on the cable channel, and there for people who may not know that that's even possible.
I will make note of that to make sure, because I'm sure that Andy would love to do something like that. Andy would love to put together a program to make sure that it's available to everyone. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a few questions, if I may. How many years has the county been doing this, the Treasurer's Office?
The County Treasurer's Office has been doing individual taxpayer assistance meetings for the last 6 years or so. Mr. Meisner, when he took office in 2008, actually started the payment plan idea, but it wasn't one-on-one. There weren't these individualized things. It was much more like Wayne County does, where they just take an amount and divide it out, and this is what you pay. So we've been doing these much more holistic approach for about the last 6 years.
So off the top of your head, if you know, has anyone from Madison Heights utilized this program?
Yes. Oh,
There are.
yes. All the time. I talk to residents of Madison Heights all the time, and when they sit down and meet with me, I always tell them where I live in Madison Heights,
All right.
and where are you? So, yeah,
Great,
absolutely.
great, that's good to hear. Can I ask you, since you're at the treasurer's office, one of the issues that disturbs me and bothers me is the water. The water being shut off because of failure to pay. And we have an ordinance now where we can't turn it off if they do not pay, but then it goes downstream and to the county. So that's where you guys come into play. So do you see that as sort of a crisis mode where people are getting their water turned off because of?
Yeah, so when people come to us and all of a sudden we look at their taxes and 1 year they're substantially higher, we know usually that's an unpaid water bill that gets turned over and added to the taxes, which the city has every right to do and a lot of cities do. But at that point, we know that there's kind of more to this situation. There's a bigger picture. People becoming past due on utilities is like a trigger for us. We know that we need to offer more. We know we need to find more ways to help them. Not only are the taxes behind, but if there are utilities, especially water, we try to direct them to programs that are available, things like THAW and OLSHA and community home improvement, as well as the RAP program that's offered through GLEWA, or I think it's something different now.
Have you ever heard of that? But that's
if I got the acronym wrong, I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's only a temporary program, though. I think it's 2 years.
Yeah, so it helps to get them back on their feet, though, which is in most cases of what we see is all that people need. People, probably 90% of the people that I meet with have had something happen, some one-time hardship that happens that sets them behind, and then they just can't get out of it. So those programs like RAP and THAW and Step Forward that offer that one-time help gets them out of the bind and allows them to kind of just go fresh and start at zero and go forward from there. But if we see, like I said, if we see the large water bills, we know there's a bigger problem. And that's where we funnel as many people as we can into our Financial Empowerment Center, because we hope that, if there's a bigger problem, maybe it's a financial, a budgeting problem. They just need help budgeting. And so we hope to get them in contact with the right people for that.
So obviously I don't expect you to have the answer, but if you could get back with us, I'm curious how many people run into that problem with the water and then it's shut off. City and then the county-wide, I'd be interested in that number.
Yep, we can get those for you. Not a problem.
And then what about the seniors? Have you run into, do seniors get in trouble? Is that the majority, or is that less than that?
It's not the majority by far, but we do see seniors that get in trouble. The problem that we see with seniors is Social Security just isn't enough.
Right.
They've been living in their house and they're fine for 40 years, and then they get on Social Security and it's just not enough to continue to make those payments at the same level that they were able to when they were working. It's very difficult, and unfortunately, as a senior citizen, there is very limited programs available. Even the senior deferment that is offered by the city doesn't reduce anything for them. It just says, we'll give you extra time to pay in hopes that you file your taxes. However, seniors are being told, if you're on Social Security, you don't need to file your taxes, which is true, but then they're missing out on the property tax credit that they could get because they own and occupy their property. So they could get money from the state of Michigan to help them pay their taxes. And they just don't know, because they've been told, well, you're on Social Security, you don't have to file taxes anymore. You don't pay taxes in, you don't need to file. So a lot of what we do is education. So the more that we can educate the seniors and just tell them, if you are a homeowner, you get this credit. You could get, this year, I heard it's up to $1,500 just to help you pay your taxes, just because you own and occupy your property. So
I hate to be a burden,
You're
but
fine.
just so I can get a handle on the scope of the problem with the seniors, is there a way that you can get some numbers on how many lost their home because of that? In Madison Heights and then maybe countywide?
It will be harder for us to tell you exactly how many seniors may have lost their home because it's not one of the factors that we look at normally when we are meeting with people. Age isn't a factor for us. It's just kind of financially where they're at. But we can certainly look at those who have received the senior deferment and then gone on to lose their property.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would just like to elaborate on a few things that Laura said to address Councilman Soltis's question. So just because water goes delinquent to Oakland County, it then does not trigger a shut-off. We do not shut off the water. It goes delinquent to Oakland County, and then they make payment plans with the treasurer to pay us back for that. So at no point does their water get shut off for non-payment. So that isn't something, the treasurer doesn't shut off their water. Locally, we do not shut off their water.
So the water never gets shut off?
Not for non-payment, no.
And definitely not at the county level. We don't have the authority to do that.
It would go to the state?
No,
Or they'd lose their home before then?
they would unfortunately lose the home before that. And then the unpaid water bill would be added to the minimum bid price at the auction. So if it was sold at auction, the city would be fully reimbursed for any unpaid water up until the date of the auction, as long as we were provided all that information.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
As I understand it, Mrs. Marsh can correct me, that the principal reason in Madison Heights that water would be shut off would be for an abandoned property.
Well, we do shut off water if a property calls next door and there's a leak or something like that. We would shut off the water.
Well, yeah,
we don't shut it off for non-payment.
No, but abandonment. I mean, you get the notice that the property's empty, or...
We typically don't shut off water for those situations either when we're
Really?
notified that it's vacant. Now, a landlord or someone can come in and say that the property's vacant and request a shut off that way. But we don't just go out and shut off water because we really don't know what somebody might be working in that home, or they might be actively trying to sell it or something. So unless an owner comes in and requests that to be shut off, sometimes we do tag for shutoffs, but that's because we know that there's a problem. Maybe we've seen quarterly or month after month that the water bill is extremely high and they haven't been making payments, and we think that it may be a vacant home. We'll tag the home. Very rarely do we do this, but we would tag the home, see if someone responded, and then we would shut off the water because it could be that they have a leak inside and no one's living there.
How soon would it take to trigger a notice with that, of a leak? Let's say there was a significant leak in the property.
Well,
Obviously, water running down the sidewalk and into the street would be one indicator. I'm sorry to drag you into this, but...
You're totally fine.
But I mean, is there something internally that the whirling meter might
only
indicate?
just the usage. So we would see the high usage, and we have a high usage report, so we would see it there. And then if staff looked and noticed that maybe nobody had been paying, we send service out. Even on high usage, we would call the DPS and send someone out.
Sure.
If they said that a property appears to be vacant, or they probably would tag right away and see if someone responded. If no one responds, and we keep tagging them through the process until they got what we call a red tag, that would indicate we're going to shut off. But that's more of like a courtesy type thing, just in case it is vacant, or maybe somebody's gone to Florida or something like that and they have a leak while they're gone. So it's not a very common thing, but it does happen, but we don't do it for non-payment.
In any event, your office has nothing to do with that at all. See,
No.
I got it back there eventually.
No, Treasurer's Office, the county treasurer has no authority over the individual water departments.
Any other comments for the treasurer's office? Yes.
Very, very quickly, Section 29-48 of our Code of Ordinances has a list of those areas that would result in a shut-off. And one of the areas, of course, that is what you mentioned, and that is a foreclosure. Other areas would be a demolition or a fire department action. If we had water running down the street, that would be an emergency situation, so that might trigger a shut-off as well. This particular section of our code lists all those various reasons that might necessitate a shut-off.
Thank you.
Any other comments for the treasurer's office?
No,
Thank you, Laura,
not the
for helping
water?
us tonight.
You don't want to talk about water anymore?
I'm sorry?
I just want to relieve the treasurer's office from our discussion about water.
She's not going to want to come back now.
Thank you for
I'm
coming.
only like 2 miles down the road, so I'm good.
South side.
And we'll get you the information.
All right, good evening.
Your Honor,
Yes.
now that she's going to sit down, one comment that I have for the water is it is unique to some of the local cities and surrounding communities that we do not shut off for non-payment. That is, as Councilman Soltis said, a very important thing that we as a council made the determination to do. And so I just want the public, as we're talking about the water and all of these comments of when do we shut off and how do we shut off, I just want the public to know we do not shut off for non-payment for any circumstance. So that means nobody has to worry that they're not going to have water to drink, the ability to flush a toilet, or the ability to do laundry. And all of those are very important things that we sometimes take for granted. But if one person missed one payment in a community that's not ours, that does shut off, they could be in for a really, really serious time. So just wanted to highlight that for those who were kind of paying attention to what was happening.
All right, let's move on. We have a third presentation tonight. It's from GFL. It's regarding their service contract. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Oh, yes. As requested by council, we have staff and representatives from GFL here tonight to discuss the 2019 operations and their plans to address the most common complaints, such as late pickup times, missed stops, and cans not fully being dumped, and kind of what their plan is for 2019. So,
Mr. Vitale, Jr.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council, residents that are with us tonight, and guests. I want to take this opportunity and just provide an update on GFL, Green for Life, or GFL. They are our trash, recycling, and compost hauler for the city. As City Council is aware, we signed a 5-year extension with GFL last summer. We signed this extension to be able to offer the larger toter, the recycling and trash cans to our residents, which is purely volunteer. They can also continue to place out the smaller size cans and smaller recycling bins as they wish. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Unfortunately for us and for GFL, kind of concurrently with that contract extension, we were having some issues, as City Manager Marsh mentioned. Late pickup times, complaints were on the rise, and we were having some issues out there. As of October of 2018, City Council requested a report from me. That's one that I delivered in October, and I won't rehash the entire report with Council, but I wanted to touch on a few things in the report. Without a doubt, complaints were up last year. 65 complaints in June of 2018 were our highest. Without a doubt as well, finish times past 5 p.m. became the norm. It wasn't isolated weeks. It went on for months and months, but I will say that we did hear our residents. City Manager Marsh and I have sat down with GFL staff, and I'd like to welcome Don Beretta and Jim Hess from GFL. Thank you for being here tonight, gentlemen. They will get up and speak at the end of I'm just trying to set the tone for things here. Also, we did see a negative uptick in social media complaints as well. One thing I do want to mention on GFL's behalf is the 696 freeway closure. If anybody drove through this city last summer, they can certainly attest to the gridlock that was the local road network, not only in Madison Heights, but many other cities as well. That will backlog things. When it takes 45 minutes for a truck to go and dump, and that becomes 2 hours round trip, that will delay our services. Also with complaints, even though my office, we log every complaint that we receive, sometimes they're not valid complaints. If our customers mark things the wrong ways, don't put them out on time, they call before the trash truck has even went through, we can't consider those a legitimate complaint. So we do track those as well. But even given all of these items, we need to be better. We've heard what our residents have said, and we want to be better. So fast forward to today. I think the presence by GFL tonight certainly shows that they want to be here with Madison Heights. Also, I conducted a survey last fall of about 15 or 20 GFL communities. The one thing and the one resounding thing that I heard from a lot of the DPW directors like myself is GFL is customer service driven. They want to address your concerns, and they will. I think that's very important because you are going to have complaints in this type of business, but you want to know your company's going to address them. Finish times since November have averaged around 4 p.m., so that is better. And I will let GFL talk about, we'd like to see that trend continue. There is no doubt. Total overall complaints received by my department for December and January were 7 and 2 for the month. I'd like to just put that in the framework of GFL picks up about 95,000 stops a week here in Madison Heights, 2 complaints for a month. I don't even know that I could put a percentage on that. That's pretty damn good. So what else have we done? The city's Environmental Citizens Committee produced a frequently asked questions. All the things that we were hearing, the ECC sat down and said, all right, here's the issue. Let's get some responses from GFL, and let's try to inform our residents for some of the issues they're having. That was posted on social media. I think it's still on the city's website. It tried to answer a lot of the questions and the items that we were dealing with. Our team from GFL continues to tag non-compliant items. If a resident doesn't put something out according to what our rules and regulations are, sometimes in the past we made those things go away. Now we are tagging those items and following up with the customers one-on-one to say, hey, this is why it's being tagged. You need to make this adjustment. So there's an education piece there as well. Stickers are provided free of charge, and these can be picked up at the DPS offices. There should be no labeling issues. No matter what type of can you want to use, put a sticker on it, throw it out there, it will get picked up. Our route supervisor from GFL, he is actively monitoring Facebook, social media, so he is responding to those who prefer that methodology in real time, which I think is important, and people are engaging that. Also, there's continued daily, weekly, and monthly dialogue with GFL staff, whether it's representatives or our route supervisor from GFL. So before GFL speaks, I just want our residents and council to know we are listening, and we want to do better. 2018 did have its bumps in the road. We're certainly aware of those, and we do want to be better. I want our residents to know, too, that staff and GFL representatives are here daily. If you have an issue, please report it. It will be followed up immediately. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the gentleman from GFL.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Mayor Hartwell, members of council, Don Beretta with GFL Environmental.
My name is Jim Hess. I'm the general manager for the East Division that services Madison Heights.
We had met with Joe and his staff the other day. We're excited to come down and talk to you folks. I mean, we've tried to make great strides to make sure that everybody in Madison Heights is taken care of. You know, Joe had brought up the issue about 696. It was sort of a nightmare for us for last year. That's behind us. 75, it should not bother us that much. But the one thing that we wanted to do is he talked about our supervisor, Doug. One of the things that we've asked him to do is to be more diligent in his communication with the DPW, to make sure he takes pictures of things that we know that are issues that would be brought to the attention of the DPW so they could be resolved pretty quick. The other thing we did was we have, at the beginning of the year, we do our budgeting. We look at trucks, we look at employees, we look at our drivers. We look at how can we help our supervisors better supervise the cities that they're in. What we did was we break it down to 4 senior route managers whose their responsibility is they have 3 or 4 cities that they're responsible for. So his responsibility is to get with Doug at least weekly, come into Madison Heights, make sure that our supervisor is doing what he's supposed to do, and make sure that our collection crews, they see Doug every day. They don't always see some of our senior supervisors, every day, but they're in there weekly. And even our residential ops manager, I know, comes down here. I've even been down here myself a few times. And I know Jim, when he's out and about, if he gets in as many communities as he can. The rest of the late, and Jim can jump in whenever he wants, but the one thing we did too was we ended up adding we had a truck scheduled to come in here come March 1st. We've already put it in, so that increases our collection routes on the trash, which is the one that has the biggest fluctuation, most through the year, except at leave time. So we have an additional truck here. So the times that you experienced last year should be considerably shorter. So that truck is in here right now, every day, working. As the spring cleanup goes, we'll have an additional yard waste truck in there too when we need to. I just wanted to let you know about that. As far as our drivers go, we did something this year that we haven't done, I don't think, forever.
No.
We usually, after leave season, we lay our drivers off. We ask for volunteers. If we don't get enough, we usually lay them off by seniority. This year, we laid no drivers off. We know there's a shortage. We know there's an issue. So we made sure that we kept all of our supervisors. We looked at our employees and what can we do to make them stay with us. We've addressed that issue. We have a referral program to not only for our employees, if their wife or their spouse has somebody that they need a job and they're a CDL driver, we have a referral program. We pay the person that makes the referral, and we pay the guy that comes in the gate and works for us. He sticks around, he gets a kick coming in, and then after a couple of months, he gets another kick. We have done everything to keep drivers in GFL and to recruit them as best we can. And we've been hiring something we haven't done for a long time neither. We've been hiring drivers right through the winter months. So we're cranked up, ready to go. If leaf season hit tomorrow, we have enough employees to cover the amount of trucks that we have to put out there to start picking up the stuff that was not picked up in the fall. I just wanted to let you know about that. Jim, you can jump in anytime you'd like.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that we did, and just to reiterate on what Don was saying with the drivers, we kept the drivers, we listened to the drivers as well. It wasn't just to Madison Heights, and we asked our drivers what they thought we could do, and that was keeping most of them around, which we did. We put more training together, training programs. We have gone mainly driver-driver teams. We've added in a couple of temporary agencies that can supply drivers as well, but mainly laborers. So we've always got the driver aspect covered. We can call them and get a loader and go down the street, or just a driver-driver team. A few incentives we put together with the pay, the signing bonuses. We also have a total of 28 more residential trucks that will be coming in throughout the year. The last of them will be due mid-September, I think. So we're averaging 4 per month will be coming in for the whole year, plus our budget trucks. These were additional replacement trucks. So we've put together as much as we can. We think we've got everything covered. Last year was just an odd thing that we hope we never ever see again. Drivers are hard to find in every line of business, but we were one up. Everybody kind of looked at us like, you guys are crazy for not laying people off, but it seems like it's paid off. Like Don said, we could start tomorrow if we have to, and we're ready to go. So we've heard the complaints, we keep in constant contact, and we plan to do that going forward and never have to have another year like we did last year.
Thanks.
We also have, just one more thing about service. We do have a new safety and service program called Safety Sync. Every employee has to go through it, including Jim and I. We have to go through and pass. And it helps our employees know what they need to do to be safe, to make sure that they protect themselves, members of the public, and our equipment. And it so far has helped us. And now they bring, they are a little bit more readily bringing stuff to us that they see out there that other employees are doing, so that we can address that to sort of head off an injury or an accident if somebody's doing something that's unsafe.
Well, thanks. I know we definitely appreciate the level of communication you have with our city, especially the men and women on the streets and DPS. I think it was really important that you came tonight and told us some of these things. I was, I think, comforted to know that, you know, you have an additional truck on the route. And then it was, I think, also important that you shared how you, you know, train your employees. I think that's important to show, you know, that you're trying to prevent turnover amongst your ranks, you know, to keep skilled and trained drivers and laborers. I think that's important. So I really appreciate you sharing that. I know people are listening, and you know, I do agree. There were some unusual circumstances with the leaf season and construction season, but I appreciate that you've responded to some of our concerns, and I have more confidence going forward. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Council, I'm sorry. Do you want to jump in?
Your Honor?
Yeah. Yes, please.
So I'm pleasantly, I wouldn't say surprised, but I'm very pleased with where these statistics have gone. When I called for this meeting to take place, and a lot of the discussion at the time was the numbers hadn't trailed off enough. So we had the peak, and I think it was June, and they just hadn't trailed off enough. I mean, we're looking at these numbers taken at face value, and you see 24 complaints in September and another 24 complaints in October. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think about the representative sample, that's a pretty significant amount. I mean, if a poll of 1,000 Americans can represent millions of people, 24 complaints, I mean, at minimum, that's representing a significant portion of our residents. And so to take that from 24 official complaints and a 6 o'clock end time down to 2 formal complaints and a 4 o'clock end time, I'm very happy with the focus, the communication, and really how your company has rose to the challenge of delivering the same level of service that we would expect from our staff. And so I thank you. I'm excited to see where this goes. I know you have loftier goals than even what we've been able to achieve so far, and you will absolutely find help and support from us in helping you achieve those goals, because there's nothing more impactful for us than making sure that our residents are taken care of. And you are serving our residents in the same capacity that our own employees are. And so for that, you have our support, you have the communication, you'll have everything that you need, and you're definitely living up to the commitment that you're making as well. So I appreciate that. I like these numbers, and I can't wait to see them continue.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're shooting for 0.
Margin of error. We'll call that margin of error. Yeah.
Your Honor?
Yes, please.
I'd like to echo Mayor Pro Tem's comments. I mean, I'll be honest, I was one that didn't vote for you guys with the contract, but seeing what you've done, I give you credit. I mean, you guys did a fantastic job, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Vitale, any closing comments?
One thing I can guarantee, there still will be complaints. We will miss stops. Residents will be unhappy from time to time. Please, what's that? Please, call us and let us know. Well, in this type of industry, it's complaint driven, certainly, but we have the resources in place to listen to what those complaints are, to send the route supervisor out to address those items immediately and rectify those complaints for you, okay?
Can I do some rapid fire just on what I get drilled with by the residents, and I always forget the answers. First, so it's a lot of softballs. The new toters, they're not required. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. What about location of the new ones or the old ones? Should it be always in the street, off the street, in the driveway, on the sidewalk, in the backyard? I mean, is there an obvious place, a required place?
Certainly the areas for people to put these are limited in some regard, but I would prefer to see them on the green belt up off the street because, as you know, DPS has to provide street sweeping service, snow removal, those types of things. So I would prefer to see them up over the curb. Other people prefer to put them in the curb to, no pun intended, curb that behavior at this point would be next to impossible. So
When does yard waste and that season begin?
typically in April, end of March or April. We try to gauge the weather every year, and we kick off usually about the same time.
April 1st, we'll be in here.
And I promise, I will never remember the answer to this question. When is trash pickup delayed? What holidays or events would cause a delay? And I promise, I'll never remember this. Yeah?
Yeah, while we practice or have 12 here in the city, GFL only has 6 of those.
6 major holidays.
Okay.
And those are listed in the city's recreation newsletter for when there are delays with GFL's pickup. And if anyone ever has any questions, please call us.
Thanks. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Good evening.
Good night.
Thank you. All right, there are no other presentations tonight. There are no public hearings. So the next portion of the meeting is meeting open to the public. This is the opportunity for anyone to offer any comment to the city. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. If you go over, I'll try to politely ask you to conclude your remarks. It's to honor your constitutional right of freedom of speech and your freedom to address grievances. We do not respond. This is your opportunity to say what's on your mind. So please be respectful. If you'd please direct your comments through me as the chair of this meeting and don't single out anyone else. It'd be helpful if you could give your name and address for the record, so if we need to respond to you. And then I suspect that some people are here to address the issue of Boomer the dog. And I have to read a statement, the same statement I read last time. City Council has been apprised that this matter is pending in several courts. As our long-standing practice in Madison Heights, the City Council does not comment at public meetings on pending litigation, since it's frankly inappropriate to do so. Also, the City Council cannot interfere with the legal process. The City Council cannot interfere with any of the judge's decisions, district, circuit, or appellate. And the council simply cannot obstruct justice or order the police department to begin or withdraw investigations. Anyone is welcome to make comments tonight about any matter, including this matter, because this is truly open to the public. But please do so in mind that the City Council will not be responding to those specific comments. So I welcome you tonight. If anyone would like to speak, you could come to the center of the room here. Welcome. Good evening.
Yes, I'm Kim Palmerville, and I live in Madison Heights. I live on Delton, 27728. And I am well aware of the fact that everything you just said. I do want to reiterate what we did say when we were here last time. We are not asking you to overturn the judge's decision. We are simply asking you as the mayor to communicate with your officials and come to a resolution. Quite frankly, we do not believe, as somebody said, one of my other Boomer supporters said a couple weeks ago, we are not doing this blindly. We are not going in and defending a dog just because he's a pit bull and we are a bunch of whack job animal advocates. We believe thoroughly that this dog did nothing more than jump the fence in response to what was going on in the next door neighbor's yard, and we believe even more so that he tried to save Chubbs' life. The dog had no blood on him, and he should have been drenched. Okay, so I'm not asking you to overturn Judge Hunt's decision, but I do know, and all of us know, that you can speak to your officials in this city. We know that, and that's what we're asking. And we're not asking you to get involved in litigations or tell them to start and stop investigations. We aren't asking that. It might have sounded like that a couple weeks ago, but I'm trying to reiterate that that's not what we're asking, okay? We know that the city of Madison Heights can resolve this at this level, even though this case has gone on and is on its way to Lansing. We know that it still can be resolved here. And that's why I'm just trying to reiterate that. Communication is all we're asking to the officials to resolve. Okay, and the only other thing I did want to say is that I submitted a Freedom of Information Act request on getting information on the money that was being spent as far as retainer fees on the case. It's the countersuit, actually. And I guess I was kind of surprised when I got a response back saying that it's denied because the records that you requested do not exist within this agency. And I'm thinking, well, I guess I don't know where they would exist then. So I guess I'll pursue it more, but it just seems strange to me that this is money that the city of Madison Heights is retaining an outside firm, but they don't have any records. I don't know, it just seems kind of strange to me, but like I said, I know you can't answer, but I'll find out more. And the only other thing I wanted to say to you, Mr. Mayor, is a couple of weeks ago when we were here, you asked us collectively as a group if prior to this, how many of us knew who the district judge or the circuit judge was? And I'm thinking to myself, I was kind of taken aback by that, and I just want to let you know that because honestly, I don't know what the point of that was. I don't know what that has to do with our crusade here to save Boomer's life. I don't know what the point of that was because it doesn't really matter. I mean, we still have a right to challenge their decision. And, you know, a lot of you don't know who any of the other people are who voted for you to get you in office. You don't know who any of the people are, most of the residents. So I just guess I didn't understand the point of that. And I just wanted to mention that to you. And that is all I have tonight, and thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address City Council? Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry. My name is Linda Kay, 73240 Romeo Plank, Armada, Michigan. I'm here to speak on behalf of Boomer, and I do not believe any one of us who have come to support him would do so if we did not believe this dog was safe to be put back in society. All of us who are involved in rescue, that is, we would not do what we do day in and day out to ever put a dog that could harm another animal or another person back. We know for a fact, we have statements, we have people who stepped down from their positions, from their jobs, because they know the integrity of this dog. There is video documented with this dog interacting not only with large dogs, with small dogs, dogs the size he was accused of killing. If you watch these videos, and they are all over Facebook, they are all over everywhere, Boomer does not even have an interest. He runs right by them. They don't even intrigue him. Boomer is running for interaction with people, and he's happy. I will respect that nobody will say anything. I will respect that, and I believe we have been a very respectful group. We're not here to cause problems. We're not here to be outrageous animal activists, but we do stand for what's right. And when an animal is not being judged properly, we are going to come forward, and we're going to come forward strong, united. We have people from all other states who are coming on board because of Boomer. And Mayor Hartwell, I believe you take an oath that you will do and represent what is right based on facts and evidence and proof. They don't exist. And without those things, nobody, a person, an animal, you can't charge them as guilty. There's no evidence anywhere. Yet this dog was torn from his home. He's been kenneled since last April, away from his owner. That alone, in that environment, should make that dog act in a different way than he is. He's nothing but happy. He's nothing but friendly. He has never shown 1 ounce of aggression, anger, anything. And this is a dog who has been displaced among strangers and in an environment where there's constant activity, because the other dogs just get to come for a day and play, and they go away. Not Boomer. Not Boomer. He's locked in there with a death sentence. Now, I will not quit, and these people will not quit.
Thank you,
And-
ma'am. Do you have any closing comments?
My closing comment is this. My deepest faith is not in the law, it's in God. And every day and every night I go to God in prayer that He will work in your heart the most, because I know what power you have to talk to your people. And I pray for every single person who has falsely accused this dog. Don't make it a breed discrimination. These dogs aren't born mean. It's humans who let these dogs down. I can train a poodle to be vicious. I've
Thank you,
rescued
Lena.
so
Thank you,
many
Lena.
pit bulls. But thank you. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Would anyone else like to address City Council on any subject? And all subjects are open.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll try to make this short and speak fast. My name is Irene Basilisco. I come here from Washington Township, not because it was easy terrain, just about an hour drive, and I needed to take time off work and find a sitter, and I'm not an animal advocate. However, this unjust situation has prompted me to want to become one. First and foremost, I'm a mother, a school volunteer, an office administrator in human resources and payroll as an employee of a family-owned and operated business in your neighboring city of Royal Oak. I'm also a landlord and an investor in several neighboring cities. The reason why I feel it's important to speak my opinion is because I come in front of you with another viewpoint that I don't think you're taking into consideration. I've been a landlord and investor since my early 20s. I'm obviously not in my 20s, 30s, or 40s. I'll say I'm in my 50s. And I've been in this business for over 2.5 decades. I think I have an experienced point of view on the topic. I have an open mind and non-discriminatory. After all, and especially in my profession, I cannot judge someone by their race, ethnicity, sex, or religion. And if I did, not only would that be wrong, but I would be sued. I feel in the Boomer case, although not human, he is being wrongfully judged and discriminated against solely on his breed and because of his owner, and because of this, his owner is as well. There's no proof that was stated before. There's no proof that Boomer is the dog accused. If it was a dog who attacked Chubbs, I mean, with the problems in the city with coyotes, there's no evidence, no witnesses, no prior issues, no current issues since he's been incarcerated, and even animal behavioralists have tested him and he's passed. The people that work with him on a daily basis have never even witnessed aggression from him towards them or any other animal. There are videos, like she had mentioned, to corroborate this. Absolutely nothing and no evidence against him. What is evidence is that the panel or powers to be involved in this case, be it the City of Madison Heights, be it judge, chief of police, attorneys, counsel, etc., anybody, are withholding this man and his dog and putting undue stress on them in return for money. Because really, why else would it be advantageous at this point? Almost a year of incurred fees and charges to the owner, your resident. Also, it's quite telling that people have come forward who have worked directly with the dog in the shelter, were told not to defend him or their job would be at stake, which sounds a little like blackmail. But as an investor, and that was my point, as an investor, my partners and I would have to really consider getting involved with a city that conducts business in this way. Because after all, running a city is a business, and this appears to be quite corrupt from one standpoint. There are more problems in the city that probably should have interest in investing in, like the epidemic of drug use, the panhandlers now that I see driving through the city, the sex trafficking. Those are issues that I believe, are more concerning from an outsider looking in who wants to invest in your city. Those issues should be addressed instead of someone's dog. And in closing, I mean, I don't know that we would want to invest in a city that doesn't listen to the outcries of their tax-paying residents. And as investment property goes, commercial brings in a lot of revenue for you. Residential is twice the amount of homestead property. I stand before you and the many residents behind me that are your taxpayers. Keep in mind, they're also the ones that put you and entrusted you in this position, all of you. And there's something that can be done. You can do the right thing. You can help out the situation, put a stop to this unjust game that's going on here. Your people deserve the right to be listened to. They pay you, and technically, you work for them. And I'll be honest, if I was in your position, I would consider how this would look to my children, my grandchildren, that if I were to partake in something like this and didn't do the right thing, I wouldn't want that to be a part of my legacy to leave them.
Thank you. Do you have a...
Yes, in closing, I have one more paragraph. The right thing obviously needs to be done here because it has become an outrage. Just because Boomer is a pitbull, you decided to accuse him that he was guilty. The breed that once was known as a nanny dog and used many years to protect children, including celebrities in Hollywood, the Little Rascals, for example. These dogs are known and they're stereotyped as to be vicious, just like the Doberman and the German Shepherd and the Rottweiler in the past, and now it seems to be change opinion from time to time. And I just want to give an example of what happened in my home.
Ma'am, can you wait, let other people get their 3 minutes? You can finish when everyone's had their chance.
I just want to give you a personal example that happened in my home.
Okay. Will you let everyone else have their 3 minutes first?
Yes, and then I'll come back and
That's fine. You're welcome
finish.
to, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm here to address Ordinance 2129. After reviewing it, I find that it's a well-written piece of document that really protects the city, but I would like to see more protection for the citizens and the children of Madison Heights. At the last city council, there was a lady that got up and spoke in reference to the soccer playground or soccer ground at John R. north of 12 Mile. I did not hear whether or not that is labeled playground. If it's not labeled a playground, will that 500-foot easement be considered for that? I would like to also challenge any one of our council members to pursue an addendum to Ordinance 2129 to change the 500-foot rule from playground and so forth to 1,000 feet, giving more protection to those in the vicinities of playground, churches, and etc. And I hope the City Council has as much compassion for our children as they did for those who spoke for medical marijuana and vote to opt out of recreational marijuana before the big pot promoters start marketing their gummies, their candies, and their lollipops in kids-friendly, colorful labels that will find their ways into the hands of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Good evening. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening, Your Honor, Council. Tracy Stitt, 29148 Chestnut Court, Madison Heights. I've been a resident of Madison Heights for almost 25 years, and I've owned pit bulls for 23 years. I rescued my first one from our own Parkview Veterinary Hospital in 1996, before it was popular to have a pit bull, before everybody wanted one. I got mine, and they're amazing dogs. And this is an amazing city. I've loved living here, but not lately. People ask me how I feel about living in Madison Heights with what's going on with Boomer, and I don't feel good about it at all. I don't feel good about my elected city officials. I don't feel good about my judge or my police chief. And anyone with a dog and a Facebook can tell you this is not just local anymore. It's not statewide. It's nationwide. And people hate us. They're calling us dog killers. I can't rectify that in my mind. It's not right. I don't want to live in a city where I'm being accused of being a dog killer for something we have really no proof. As many people have stated, the transcripts have been posted all over the internet. So these people behind me that support Boomer, the people who protest, the people on the internet, they're not going to go away until Boomer goes home. We're not going away. This dog needs to go home, and I do believe that this council can help with that decision. The whole country is watching us right now, and it's up to you on what they see. I would like them to see the Madison Heights that I fell in love with, the reason why I've stayed here so long, the reason why I want to continue to stay here. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from members of members of the public? Or ma'am, you could finish your report. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one more person that wants to. Welcome.
I'm Jenna Uhace. I live in Madison Heights. I think most of you know me. I have never complained about GFL because I, in general, don't have a tremendous amount of complaints about them. But I do have a request. I would like to see, if possible, that we could expand our recycling with GFL. I have a lot of, my sister lives in Royal Oak, my parents live in Warren. When I go visit both of them, they get to, like, when I'm going through recycling, or going to, like, throw out or recycle things, they're like, hey, we could recycle that. And I'm like, oh, I can't. And so I'm definitely jealous of the things that other cities get to recycle that we cannot recycle here. So I would like us to, at least since we're in a contract with them for another 5 years, to definitely look into expanding our recycling program with them. And as someone who is deeply affected by the Phase 2 construction of the modernization of 75, as it's my entire commute to work, I would really like to get those 20 alternate routes before Thursday. And Melissa, if you can send those to me, I think you have my email address, because I would like to use them before Thursday. So, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back. Could you remind us your name if you'd like?
Irene Basilisco.
Thank you.
I was just going to tell you a personal situation that I had, and it shows you an example of how the whole breed is stereotyped. I've had several breeds over the years, and my favorite, actually, and preferred breed, no offense to anyone, but it's the Great Dane, for example, and they are considered the gentle giant. However, just an example, I have a Great Dane and 2 pit bulls, who I've rescued, all of them. My boyfriend one day came unannounced into the room wearing a scary Halloween mask that looked kind of like Freddy Krueger and The Walking Dead. He came in, and my 200-pound Great Dane, who was very old and ill, jumped off the couch and charged him. What did my 2 pit bulls do? Ran scared in the other room. They didn't defend me. They didn't charge him. They were scared, like a lot of times the stories go with pit bulls. But my Great Dane, who is considered the gentle giant, was really the vicious type. And it were the pit bulls that are vicious acted like the gentle, small ones. But anyways, I understand that my plea may fall on deaf ears here. And it appears all the previous ones before me have, or we wouldn't have gotten to this. But I'm hoping it would be considered, because ultimately it changes the opinion that everybody, obviously all over, they said all over the country, but there are people all over the world that have been addressing Michigan and Madison Heights in particular. And it affects and ultimately, it affects the community as a whole, and clearly, obviously, it affects the dog and his life, and he'd be wrongfully put to death for absolutely no reason, but at this point, for corruption and money. And that's it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you for allowing us to talk. My name is Rosanna Basilisco. I'm your neighbor in Royal Oak here, and I wanted to share my experience in my own yard with my own dogs. And it's very hard for me, so please forgive me. I learned the hard way about fence aggression. It's a real thing. And I had a little dog, Oscar, who was a Yorkie poo, and he was the pack leader of 4 pit bulls, and they respected him. One day, it was a beautiful Wednesday, and I let them all out like I do, and in the next yard, our neighbor had her golden retriever on a leash because he would jump, her name was Lori, would jump over the fence if she wasn't on this leash. And what happens with fence aggression, which, if you can share this, because it happens a lot more common, or it's a lot more common than we think, is when you have a pack of dogs in your own yard and they see something or something triggers them off in the next yard and they can't get to it, they tend to attack each other. And my little Oscar attacked one of my dogs, and actually it was the pit bull who ran in the house, but it was my other bully breed that he gave him a warning at first, and then the next time he did hurt him. But by the time all the ruckus was happening, it was the golden retriever that was wanting to jump the fence because it's heightened excitement. So because we don't know what happened, because there is no evidence, in my heart, because I saw what happened, I believe that Boomer jumped the fence after he had seen all this ruckus happen, because I was there, I saw it. And after all the smoke cleared, I thought to myself, if I wasn't home, because I did leave I always would leave the door wall open so they had free reign and run in and out and that, but if I wasn't home, anything could have happened and I would not have known, not a clue what happened. I mean, I saw not too long ago, it was last summer, a humongous coyote in my yard. So I'm very cautious now, very cautious. And I don't let them out together. I'm very cautious. I let the girls go out by themselves, and the 2 bullies, I do them separate. But there's a way that you learn things, and unfortunately, it was the hard way with Oscar. But now, I am showing and talking about this. It really can happen at any time. So in my theory of it all, Boomer was trying to help Chubbs, and I feel bad for this little dog that happened, because it did happen to me with my own. But I'm just hoping that you would take that into consideration, and hoping that, it's a different avenue to look at it. And believe me, I hated that golden retriever, but it wasn't her fault either. And I just, after therapy and all that and training, I did learn that this is, they're animals. So, the height meant and all that. But wholeheartedly, I really doubt 100% that Boomer did this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address City Council on any subject? The meeting's still open to the public. Welcome
Sorry,
back.
Your Honor, I just wanted
Tracy,
to add
right?
something. Yes,
Thank you.
Tracy, thank you. You have stated what the council cannot do as far as obstruction of justice and things like that. By our next meeting, I would like to know what you can do to help the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
My name is Martha Bailey. I live in Shelby Township, retired from Utica Community Schools, and now I'm volunteering with Animals and Older Persons Community in Rochester. Anyway, I feel that this whole thing is based on hate and discrimination, and I would hate to see what could happen in the future. Because what happens tomorrow if this judge says, okay, they're of a different color, they're Asian, they're Mexican. He doesn't like them, right? How can you base something that there's no evidence to prove guilt? I do not understand it whatsoever. And then, too, the white people are going to be a minority eventually. So pretty soon, what if the haters come after us? I think we better stop the hate and discrimination. And another thing, did you see the mayor of Utica? How he stood up to the situation with Sterling? I was very proud of him. So anyway, I hope you guys can make a difference. And thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else? At the microphone, because it has to be recorded, and there's more people at home listening. That's fine. Take your time.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, please don't suggest that we write letters, because trust me, all of us have been writing letters for the last 6.5 months to you, Melissa Marsh. We've written to the city attorney, Judge Hunt, and many others. And so I just want to say, you did mention that at the last meeting, and that was the other thing. It's like, we've done that. So we don't need help writing letters. We've been writing them for the last 6.5 months, okay? We need something else. We need more help with you talking to your officials, because we know that it can be stopped here. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Hi.
I'm Melissa from St. Clair Shores. I don't really know any of these people here, but I did follow the case on Boomer through the internet. I just wanted to say that, I have a pit bull and I also have a Chihuahua. My Chihuahua runs the pit bull. The pit bull's terrified of the Chihuahua. But the pit bull would also, if something was attacking our neighbor's dog, the other side they have 2 dogs, she would, and she's only 1.5 years old, she would jump the fence to defend them. If it was a coyote, my Chihuahua almost got attacked by a falcon. I had to go out there, almost had my Chihuahua, and run away. And they are very aggressive. They will take them, and they will try to kill them. So if you don't have proof of what was in that backyard, I'm not sure what you guys think or have. But if you don't have the proof, you don't know if it was the Doberman. You don't know if it was an animal. The Chihuahuas are 7 pounds. They can be, anything can attack them. If nobody's watching them, it's hard to say. And from what I read, the witness first told animal control that she saw everything and then took that statement back. So if there was nobody to witness what happened, I don't know how you can find him guilty to put him to death. So, it's just a really confusing case. And like they said, it's now national. I've talked to people in India about it. So, I mean, if you guys put Boomer to death, that falls on you guys. And especially if you don't have concrete evidence, just like you would do for a human being. You have to have the evidence in order to put them to death. So I would hope that you guys, if you have dogs, any of you have dogs and love them like your children, because I know I love mine like my children. I take them everywhere. Think about what it would feel like for you personally if your dog was going to be put to death. How hard you would fight for that dog, what you would do for that dog, especially without the evidence. So it's like heartbreaking to know that the city isn't going to stand behind at least to make sure there is, like you are 100% sure this dog killed that Chihuahua. Because like I said, I know they would jump in the backyard to defend them. They would help them. They would do anything in their power. I know my dog 100% would help either neighbor dog. She plays with them. We have play dates with them. They're not aggressive. And Boomer, for sure, watching all those videos, I mean, he runs past 15 kennels and doesn't even pay all those barking dogs attacking at him and just goes right into his kennel and lays down. That's not an aggressive dog. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you may speak. Could you remind us your name if you'd like?
Linda Kay. I'll make it very quick. As everyone has been saying, it has gone worldwide. Unfortunately, every post, we use the city people's names. Everybody is aware of who is calling the shots on the life of this dog. And Mayor Hartwell, you're known everywhere. This could be a turning point where you could really stand behind something great and stand for what's right and say, without all the evidence and the proof, we cannot put this dog down. People will rally behind you for doing what is right. And if I was a mayor, I knew that there is no proof anywhere. I wish we could bring Boomer in this room. Can you imagine what the world would do? They would stand and applaud you just like all of us would. We're not looking to release a dangerous dog. Good night.
Thanks. Would anyone else like to address City Council on any subject? All right, no one else has asked to be recognized, so we can continue on with our agenda. There are no communications tonight, but we do have several reports. First one's from the city manager, the fiscal year 2019 budget amendments. Mrs. Marsh.
The state of Michigan's budget law requires that budget amendments be approved by City Council. The budget amendments are submitted to ensure that the fiscal year 2019 budget is in compliance with state law. If the City Council concurs with the recommended amendments, the Council should approve the implementation of these amendments and appropriate the necessary funds. And I would like to just kind of briefly talk about what the amendments are, since I know the public doesn't have them. The majority of these budget amendments involve the moving of the retiree health care trust money into the premiums paid, and this puts us in compliance with our Public Act 202, which is a state law mandating how we fund pension and retiree health care. And there is one other budget amendment, that's the majority of these. There was one for the DDA where we are increasing our facade grant by $10,000. So that's all the budget amendments.
Thank you. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move that the council concur with staff and approve the proposed budget amendments for the 19 budget year.
And appropriate the necessary funds?
Yes, and appropriate the necessary funds.
Perfect. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Gettings.
Second.
Thank you. A motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilman Gettings, to concur with the staff recommendation to approve the implementation of the budget amendments for FY 2019 and appropriate the necessary funds. Is there discussion from members of council? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. The next report on the agenda is D2. It's from the city clerk. There's several items for consideration. It's the boards and commission review and amendments. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report first?
Yes. Pursuant to City Goal HH, the City Council and staff conducted a review of all the existing boards and commissions, including a review of their scopes, membership composition, and method of conducting these meetings. The city clerk and I are recommending the following: that the reappointment process be streamlined to a semi-annual basis with all terms of offices for citizens to expire on February 28th and August 31st of each year. No changes proposed for the filling of board vacancies. New members will be filled as usual by City Council on an as-needed basis. That the project directors and school liaison committees be made inactive to remove the Housing Commission as it is no longer relevant to the city's operations. Change the definition of a quorum to be determined by attendance at 50% or more of the current board membership, and any action must require a majority of the quorum present at the meeting. That all alternate seats are considered ex officio members for meeting participation. That no action on boards and commissions that are otherwise governed by the city charter, state legislation, or other authority, and this would include the Downtown Development Authority, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, the Civil Service Commission, the Planning Commission, the Police and Fire and General Employees Healthcare Benefit Trust and Pension Board, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. We also recommend that no changes be made to the elected officials' Compensation Commission and the Active Adult Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Marsh. Mr. Sherman.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to suggest the following. Based on Robert's rules, I would suggest that we take the ordinances as one block unless there's a council member that wants to address a specific ordinance, and we can remove that from the block and then deal with that, and that the resolutions be dealt with as one block. And likewise, if a council member wants to pull a resolution to deal with that separately, we can do that as well.
Okay. So I'll ask for the omnibus motion for all ordinances to be approved on first reading.
Your Honor.
If there's a member of council that wants to pull one out, let's do that by substitute motion. Mr. Bliss?
Yeah, Your Honor, I will make the motion for approving of all of the ordinances listed on first reading.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Corbett?
I'll support stipulating that that's ordinances 2131 through 2136, if that's agreeable with the maker.
Yep, correct.
Thank you for clarifying that. A motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Councilmember Corbett, to approve on first reading the 6 ordinances listed in reports tonight in sequence 2131 to 2136. Is there any discussion from council? Oh, is there a public hearing on first reading? No, not for this. Okay. Comments from city council? All right, we can vote. And remember, you're voting to approve all 6 of these on first reading. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. What's the wish of council regarding the 7 resolutions?
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to take the Arts and Culture Board separate, so I'm going to make the motion to approve the Arts and Culture Advisory Board resolution with 2 minor changes. One would be the inclusion of a treasurer included in the officer section, as well as the shortening of the name to the Arts Board simply. So instead of Arts and Culture Advisory Board, it would be the Arts Board, the Madison Heights Arts Board. And that's by declaration from the board. They've asked for that change to make it simpler. So that is my motion to adopt the ordinance as printed, except for those 2 changes, the addition of treasurer and the shortening of the name.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Corbett?
I'll support, but right at the jump, I've got to ask, has this treasurer been vetted through staff? Has the manager's office and the attorney's office talked about that with you?
Do we wait for discussion, or?
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, a motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Corbett. But the motion includes 2 amendments to the proposal, to include a treasurer position and to shorten the name, just simply the Arts Board. Yeah, discussion, I'm sorry.
Yes, Your Honor, the board, as part of that section, we could support or allocate any positions deemed necessary. The board has been operating with a treasurer. We're now on our 3rd treasurer, and that's just simply making sure that it's in the resolution that we will continue to have a treasurer. The board itself solicits a lot of donations. Those go directly into the city's escrow fund. So they're not handling money, but they are accounting for the money, and then that treasurer position is really impactful with regards to a lot of the fundraising efforts that we do.
Yeah, I need to hear from the attorney on this one.
Okay, please.
Right now, the way it's set up, and this is basically some clarification, you have 11 voting members. 8 members are appointed by council. 7 are residents, plus 1 alternate. 1 council member who serves and 1 alternate. Then you have a Lamphere High School student, a Madison High School student, a Bishop Foley High School student, and then you have the city manager as an ex officio non-voting member. So with the treasurer, you're not changing the number, would still be 11 members.
Correct.
Is your motion that one of the residents would act as, be voted by the board as a treasurer?
Correct, similar to chair, vice chair, and secretary that are in there. And it's just codifying what we've already been doing.
And what would be the duties of the treasurer?
Mostly accounting with regards to our fundraising.
If the money is being solicited in the name of the city, I'm just asking, the money has to go through the city. Correct. The treasurer is the city of Madison Heights. I mean, maybe somebody is physically record keeping or something, and maybe that's where I'm
Correct.
hanging up on it, but I just want to be clear on this. This is where things come, the wheels come off of the cart real early.
A lot of record keeping, Your Honor, and also utilizing that position is kind of our fundraising czar. We do, on our schedule going forward, we have at least 1 event every single month. And so that position becomes much more critical today than it even was last year. And the Arts Board has already voted on that position. This is just making sure that it's officially in the resolution going forward. And it would be our 3rd treasurer.
Yeah, Mr. Sherman.
Mr. Mayor, we can flesh out that, this is first reading. Between first reading and second reading,
Yeah.
we can flesh out what that position is and what the details are and who is going to be holding actually holding the funds.
Well, holding the funds,
Yeah, they don't
we know that.
It's going to be the city.
I'm
Yeah, the city holds
just
the
making sure that it follows the city's financial guidelines on the subject.
We'll get with Mark and make sure that we have it all
Well,
spelled out
I
before the
would ask the
second.
new treasurer, but that's probably not fair on our
Yes.
first night, so we'll give you a pass, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll work out all
that's-
the details.
Okay.
I'm okay with these. I mean, we do have naming conventions for our boards and commissions. I mean, boards are all named advisory boards, and commissions get the title of commission because they tend to have final authority on some substantial legal decisions. So to deviate from, that historic naming convention it's new. I'm okay with it, but it should be noted that advisory boards are named advisory for a reason.
Yes, Your Honor, if I may. The local arts boards and arts councils surrounding us, they benefit from having that simpler name. And so the decision from the Arts Board really came from, it makes it harder for people to understand who we are or to even invest in some of the fundraising and the efforts that we're doing, because it's just a significantly longer name. And so simplifying that name is very beneficial to the board moving forward. And it's aligned to what other communities are doing, like Hazel Park's Arts Council. Royal Oak, same thing. There's a very simple naming convention, but to be able to have the and Cultural Advisory Committee, it's a lot to say when somebody's walking into a small business trying to get a couple of gift cards for a fundraiser.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I don't have any problem with it. That this board is doing great work, and I don't want to, I think just get out of the way and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
So,
Whatever the artists want to call themselves, so be it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can go with the symbol if you'd prefer.
The board formerly known as.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah, it's first reading. The Mayor Pro Tem and Mr. Corbett's motion is simply for the Arts Board with those two proposed amendments. Is there any other discussion regarding this resolution? Oh, it's not first reading. It's just to adopt the resolution, right?
Yeah, it's not first reading.
Oh, so it's final.
It is final,
Tonight.
but we will still work out the details with Mark.
Okay.
So yes, this won't come back for a second reading.
All right, okay, so the resolution was made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Councilman Corbett, to adopt the resolution regarding the Arts and Cultural Advisory Board with two proposed amendments to the resolution, to include the position of treasurer as one of the named officers, and to shorten the name to simply the Arts Board. Any final discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Can I have a motion regarding the 6 final resolutions?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we adopt the 6 final resolutions, which are the Charter Revision Committee, the City School Liaison Committee, the CDBG Committee, Environmental Committee, ITAC, and the Multicultural Relations Advisory Board.
Yes, sir. Your motion is to approve the resolutions.
Yep, approve all of the ones
Okay.
I just listed.
Is there support?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Corbett?
Support?
Thank you. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Councilman Corbett, to approve the 6 resolutions from the agenda regarding the Charter Revision Committee, City School Liaison, CDBG, Environmental, ITAC, and Multicultural. Is there any discussion? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. We can continue on the agenda, and we skip ahead to item G, ordinances. And there's one for review tonight. It's ordinance number 2130. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped an item 3, D3. It's from the city manager. It's the MERS Healthcare Savings Program agreement. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. City Council is requested to
Thanks, Cheryl.
approve the MERS Healthcare Savings Program Participation Agreement as amended in accordance with the agreement provided.
Thank you. What's the wish of city council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move that the council concur with the recommendation and approve the Healthcare Savings Program Participation Agreements.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Grafstein?
support.
Thank you. Motion was made by Councilmember Corbett, seconded by Councilor Grafstein, to adopt the staff recommendation to enter into the MERS Healthcare Savings Program Participation Agreement amendments. Is there discussion on this item? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Now we can go to ordinances, and there's one item for discussion, G1. It's ordinance number 2130, zoning text amendments 1901. It's the second reading. Mrs. Marsh?
On February 11th, Council approved the zoning text amendment 19-01, Ordinance 2130 on first reading. These amendments were recommended for approval by the Planning Commission after they held a public hearing on February 5th. These proposed revisions to our zoning ordinance allow, as a permitted principal use, approved and licensed medical marijuana facilities in the M1 light industrial and M2 heavy industrial districts within the city. In addition, the proposed zoning amendments add that safety compliance facilities only may also be located in the O1 office business district. In addition to M1 and M2 industrial districts, because the M2 zoning ordinance automatically includes all the permitted principal uses of M1 district, there's no need to amend the M2 zoning ordinance because all M1 uses are included.
Thank you. What's the wish of city council?
Your Honor,
Yes, please.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2130 on second reading.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Grafstein?
Support.
Thank you. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Councilor Grafstein, to adopt on second reading ordinance number 2130, zoning text amendments 1901. Is there discussion from City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Soltis.
Can I ask, does this, I'm trying to understand this, does this relate in any way to what the resident said about the, next to the parks or anything like that? Is that related to this issue, this ordinance amendment?
Mr. Mayor?
That's a good question.
No, that 500 feet is outlined in the ordinance that was already adopted by council on second reading at the last council meeting. So that's what takes into consideration what she was speaking about. This only allows it in the M1, M2, and O1 districts. So this just amends the zoning ordinance and adds one sentence to allow it in those industrial districts and office district.
What about the other resident that talked about the trailer parks?
That's all with the
manufactured homes?
ordinance that council adopted last time.
That was
So,
a part of it as well?
yeah, in there it details 500 feet from certain areas, and residential is one of them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Soltis. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, let's vote. Just in case, can we please do a roll call vote? If you're in favor of adopting the ordinance, say yes. If you oppose, say no. The clerk will take your vote. Please.
Councilman Soltis.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilman Gettings.
No.
Councilor Grafstein.
Yes.
Mayor Hartwell.
I vote yes. Resolution passes 4-2. Continuing on, we can go to minutes. We have one set of minutes. It's from the regular meeting of 2/11/19. What's the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Mr. Bliss?
I move that we adopt the minutes as printed.
Thank you, sir. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Corbett?
Support.
Thank you. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Councilman Corbett to adopt as printed the minutes from the regular city council meeting of 2/11/19. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. And the motion carries. Are there any, are we doing nominations yet?
Mr.
Is she the alternate? Yes. Okay, there's some musical chairs I'd like to play with Crime Commission. There's a person who's volunteered to be the chairperson of the Crime Commission, Deliza Lee. However, she obtains the alternate seat. For her to be the chairperson, she needs to vacate her alternate seat and become just a full member of the Crime Commission. So it's a mayor's appointment. So it'd be my appointment if council would confirm that appointment of Deliza Lee to a full seat on the Crime Commission, a term expiring, we'll do the longest one, 9/12/21. So would a member of council please affirm the mayor's appointment?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to affirm that appointment.
Thank you, Ms. Grafstein. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Corbett?
Support.
A motion was made by Councilor Grafstein, seconded by Councilman Corbett, to affirm the mayor's appointment of Deliza Lee to the Crime Commission for the vacant term expiring 9/12/21. I've been holding off on these, but she just hosted one public town hall last month. She wants to host another public panel next month. So she has a lot of ideas turning into action. So that's why I bring it up now. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Corbett.
Speaking of musical chairs, I'd like to do a little bit of that at the zoning board, if I could, please.
Yeah, please.
Typically, when there's a vacancy in a regular seat, we promote an alternate. We have an alternate to promote. So in that regard, I would move to appoint Margaret Marentet to the full term on the zoning board, which will expire February the 1st, 2020, and declare her alternate seat vacant.
Yes, sir. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Grafstein?
I'd like to
Support.
Thank you. Motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilor Grafstein, to appoint Margaret Peggy Marentet to the vacant term for the full seat on the ZBA, the term expiring 2/1/20, and to declare her alternate seat vacant. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
To the vacant seat that Mrs. Marentet just created, I would move, may I ask the clerk, I didn't see it, what is the expiration of her current alternate term? Do you know that off the top of your head?
If you just give me a second, I do have it with me.
I'm sorry, I meant to call earlier today.
Her term expires 2/1/20.
Okay. Oh, well, okay, then I would move to appoint Gloria Thompson to the alternate spot, which has a expiration date of February the 1st, 2022.
February 1st, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Is she currently serving, or?
No,
Oh,
this
okay,
is
new
the-
applicant. Is there support?
You said 2022, Bob?
Yeah, because she actually applied first, and so that's the longest seat.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gettings, that's support for the motion?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. Okay, motion was made by Councilmember Corbett, seconded by Councilmember Gettings, to appoint Gloria Thompson to the alternate seat. Is that right? The alternate
Yes.
seat? On the ZBA for a term expiring 2/1/22. Any discussion on this matter?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have her application handy? I'd love to hear what her background is.
Do I? It was in
Your Honor,
the,
I do not have that with me. It was in the informationals, I believe, the last.
yeah, not
I
this
just-
week, but the
Yeah,
previous
I just
week.
pulled up
Time
from this
before.
week, and it
Time
doesn't-
before
No,
that.
it was the
It
week
was in the week
before.
before that?
Yeah.
She has relevant background to be able to serve on the ZBA effectively? Just checking.
Yes, I would think.
I
Well,
do not have the information in front of me, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Other discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
And one more, Your Honor. I would move to appoint Deborah Ott to the vacant seat created by Mrs. Marentet, which is February the 1st, 2020.
Alternate seat?
Yes, I'm sorry.
ZBA?
Yes.
Is there support?
Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. Soltis?
support, please.
Thank you. Motion was made by Councilmember Corbett, seconded by Councilman Soltis, to appoint Deborah Ott to the alternate seat on the ZBA, a term expiring 2/1/2020. Is there discussion?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Same question as last time. Does anybody have her background? Do we know that she has relevant expertise to be able to serve on the ZBA?
Again, her application was week before last, so.
Any other discussion?
Your Honor, yeah, I won't hold up her application. I
don't
assume
know
it was
what you're-
in the last, well, what I'm getting at, I don't, if nobody has it in front of them, then either everybody has reviewed it but didn't retain the information, or we're just voting and appointing people to boards without understanding their background. I will vote in favor, just like I did in the last one, because I will put the onus on me that I don't have that in front of me. But I do think that after we just finish this board review, I'd like us to do a better job of understanding the backgrounds of the people that we're appointing to these board seats and how they fit in. The ITAC resolution, for example, mandates that they have relevant background in information technology to be able to serve that post. We're not at a place where we have so many open seats that we have to fill them. I want to make sure that we are filling our seats, and again, I don't know their backgrounds. They should be immensely qualified, and I'm sure they are, but this is a broader point that we need to do a better job of understanding the qualifications of the people that we are submitting for boards to make sure that they serve our city as effectively as possible.
Your Honor?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I can understand the ITech example for background and qualifications. The zoning board reflects the breadth of the community in interpreting the rules of zoning, whether or not to give exceptions and so on. So, you know, as a real estate agent, the last thing in the world you want is 9 real estate agents sitting on that board or 9 bureaucrats. I mean, that's not the point of the zoning board. The zoning board is to reflect the community. In terms of a bad example, but it's the only one that comes to mind. Some years ago, our laws required X number of parking spaces for warehouses. And it was based on the 1950s model of what would be required, and it was some outrageous amount for a building on 14 Mile Road. Well, it was the non-real estate people on the board who recognized the times have changed, and with robotics and with technology, 300 parking spots for a business that only would require 14 employees on a good day. That's where that came from. They began to grant exemptions, which eventually led to a revision in that ordinance by the council and so on. So my point is, every board is different. Some require specific expertise, and some just an honest interest in serving is probably pretty good. Is good enough. That's what you want. You want somebody who's able to take the information, listen to what the professionals are saying, and then apply common sense to it. I think you see that in a number of boards. I think zoning board. I think planning is a mix. Planning commission is a mix. You've got a few seats that you do have to have the community reflected, but you've got to have the technical expertise sitting there, the managers, the engineers, and so on. I mean, so you can go right down the list. Each one may or may not require these sort of things. So your point is well taken. I don't know in this case. I don't think it applies, only because a housewife or a factory worker or a real estate agent all are equally qualified to sit on that board, provided they're interested and willing to give a fair shake to the people who appear at the microphone before them. So just my thoughts on this particular one, to your specific question here. So.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm just taking a quick look, and if I'm correct, the zoning board has Mark Kimball and now has Gloria Thompson. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this, if we were to add Deborah Ott, that would make 3 members of the Madison School Board would be on this. And I don't know if their charter or their bylaws, how they work, and I would be concerned, just as if we had 3 members of Lamphir or 3 members of the Arts Board wanting to be on this. I have a bit of a concern with that this may, forget us, this may contravene their charter, and I would feel better voting on this after we have something from their board stating that they're okay with this.
Yeah, right. If 3 of us get a cup of coffee, we're in trouble.
If 3 of us, because of the Open Meetings Act, if 3 of us are making decisions or doing something, it's, you know, we're not allowed to do that. And I don't know, it very well may be okay, but I would feel better knowing from them that this is okay.
Your Honor, I'll
Yeah.
withdraw the nomination, and perhaps the clerk's office can contact the secretary of the board.
Just confirm that they're okay with
That
this.
isn't going to cross some rules that they have. Yeah.
I don't want to okay this and then find that we've now put them in a position where they're in conflict,
Yeah.
and then it
No,
spills
that's
onto
fair.
us.
The only problem we've ever had over time, to be very honest with you, and this is getting a reasonable balance in the geography of this.
I note that, I see that.
Historically, the zoning board has been underrepresented from residents at the south end. I don't know why that is, but it has been, and it's something we've been conscious of, so. But yeah, we can deal with it later then.
Okay.
I withdrew.
Withdrawn.
Did you second? Did the second withdraw too?
Kettings, any problem
Sure.
withdrawing
Oh,
that?
Kettings, okay.
All right.
No problem.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you for withdrawing that. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Okay. There's no executive session, so before we adjourn, I'd invite any closing comments from members of City Council and staff that are up here. Mr. Corbett?
Just one thing came through late today. I saw that, and I wanted to just publicly acknowledge the Women's Club. I guess they are spearheading a memorial for Ed Swanson, the former mayor of Madison Heights. Bench, which tentatively, depending on how things work out, is thought to be going in around the gazebo somewhere. I think anybody who knew Ed, whoever thought of a park bench, couldn't have picked a better symbol for Ed. Ed would have a habit of parking himself, literally, in some heavily trafficked location, like a park bench, and would talk to whoever walked by. I think he would have talked to the rocks and the squirrels if there was nobody else available, but that's one of my memories of him, fondest memories of him being out and just talking to everybody that came by and kidding them. I remember years ago, we were on Mackinac Island, and we were just traveling with, I think it was the Clarks and the Swansons, and for whatever reason, Ed didn't want to go into this one, whatever it was, we went into this one building. I don't know if it was a store or something. And when we came out, he had been sitting on the porch, and he gathered a group. He had a group around him, people, complete strangers that he was talking and kidding, and he found a group that hadn't heard his jokes yet. So that was really sweet of them. And Rosalind, I know you're a member of the group, so if you would pass along my appreciation, and that was really nice. So that's it. That's all I have this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bliss.
Yes, Your Honor. So first and foremost, I'm really happy that we were able to push forward that board update. As many of you in the public, and hopefully more watching at home, know, that was a major goal of mine. After adopting new boards and seeing the excitement and how relevant that they were, that was something that I wanted to bring to all the boards. And this has been an incredible process. I think more than half of the boards had updates to them, including the three newest boards, which are the Arts Board, Multicultural, and ITech. All of those were updated even in this, and in fact, Environmental had an update and then just got another update as a part of this entire process. And so it's really important that we make sure that our boards and committees are set up to be as powerful as they need to be for our city. We need to make 100% sure that people are active and engaged in the meetings. And so one of the things that this process, and you may not have realized it if you're watching at home, but one of the things that we just did is we made sure that every alternate serving in a board is an ex officio member. So for the first time in the city's history, an alternate at a meeting is able to speak during the meeting and not just that meeting open to the public. That's incredibly important. If anybody has ever served as an alternate, myself included, it's the most awkward thing in the world to sit at a table with people brainstorming and throwing out ideas and not be able to say anything officially. And so I'm really happy that we were able to do that. And I'd like us to get a little bit more knowledgeable of the folks that are applying. I'd love to have an understanding of their background relevant to the board that they're applying on. As was noted with the ZBA, I mean, maybe the defining factor there is location of residence within the city. Maybe as we're appointing, we should make special reference to that, understanding how they are representing the city as a whole. But every board has things that, whether it's a passion that that person has, whether it's a part of their professional life, or whether it's just something that they care so deeply about they need to be involved in, those are the things I'd like to see on the applications, and those are the things that I'd like to make sure are circulated before we ever vote on anybody appointing to the board. Second thing I have tonight, it was mentioned in comments today that we are a little bit weak on some of the types of things that we recycle. One of those items is cartons. We do not accept cartons currently. The City of Royal Oak does. And so I want to make sure that we dive into that. Perhaps the Environmental Committee is already on that, but I know that was mentioned in comments earlier, and I want to make sure that we are on top of that, whatever we can do to be able to accept those cartons. Particularly Tetra Paks are becoming one of the most popular ways to sell liquids, to sell and package liquids. You can buy soups in Tetra Paks, you can buy coconut water, anything. And so those are becoming so prevalent, and right now they're just ending up in our trash cans. And I'd like to see those end up in recycle bins. Finally, my last thing for tonight is really exciting. The Arts Board, as Councilman Corbett said, the Arts Board is absolutely crushing it. They've been doing some phenomenal work for the city. I'm proud to serve with every member of that board. They're just so passionate and so exciting. It just rubs off on you, and you want to do some amazing things like paint or sing karaoke. And so we're doing a big fundraiser called Conies and Karaoke. It's on March 13th. It's from 6 till when Augie's closes, and it's at Augie's. It's open to the public. We are selling tickets right now. You can check out the Arts and Culture Board's social media pages. We're on every major social media page. You can also check out the city website to be able to get information on buying tickets. I have already been talked into singing, so I will be singing at karaoke. I'd encourage any of my peers on council to come. The gauntlet is dropped. Join me. We can do well. We can all get up there. We'll sing something. I don't know. Maybe Four Tops, Spice Girls. I'm open. We'll do anything. It's all to raise money for the murals, mural project in the city. The Arts Board has already received a few proposals for murals for the park shelter at the foot of the hill. And it's going to be really awesome to not just do that one mural, but to do another couple off of the money that the Arts Board is able to raise. So please come out, please sing. And if you're sitting up here, join me on stage. Let's do this.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gettings.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Assistant City Attorney, Mr. Sherman.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. City Manager, Mrs. Marsh.
Yes, I have a couple of things. If anybody's still watching, I wanted to introduce our new Finance Director and Treasurer. Linda Kunith is with us tonight. So I know it's kind of late, but we also have the State of the City's address on Friday. Everybody's welcome to attend that. It's going to be at Shelving Inc. on Stevenson Highway. And I think that's about it, other than I will not be joining you singing, but I will be there. People would probably make more donations to keep me quiet.
We can
Maybe you should do that instead.
We can put out a bucket, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, City Clerk. Ms. Prince.
I could probably raise more money than you. I do just have one comment. There are some new laws that are currently being implemented regarding elections, and one of those is no reason absentee voting. So in an effort to make it easier for you to sign up to be an absentee voter, we are adding a email address called permlist, PERMLIST, at madison-heights.org. All you need to do is send an email to that address, and we will add you to the permanent absentee list. Please remember that although you sign up for the list, you still have to fill out the application before every election, and if you do not want to participate, you will still get an application, just don't return it. Okay? Or if you decide to vote in person, again, you just wouldn't return that. There will be more changes coming as far as the laws, but the state hasn't really rolled out anything else yet. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Grafstein.
Yes, I have two things. The first is I am currently participating in a fundraiser for our Leukemia Lymphoma Society, which is based right here in Madison Heights on 12 Mile, and we are currently looking for sponsors. So if anyone is interested in just making a donation or in participating with that and helping us fundraise, please get in touch with me. Let me know. I'd be happy for any help anyone can offer. The other thing is, as Mayor Hartwell alluded to, the Crime Commission is going to be hosting an event on March 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the fire station. It is regarding child abuse and child neglect. So if anyone is interested in that, I urge everyone to come out and get that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Soltis?
Nothing, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to welcome Linda Kunith to our team. You have a lot of experience in municipal government, so we're really excited to have you. You come in as an expert. We trust you, we value you, and we can't wait to, just see how you grow within our city team. Good hire, Melissa. Well done. And thanks for coming to the meeting tonight, Linda, who will serve as our finance director and treasurer. We spend about $50 million a year, and Linda, it all goes through your hands and eyes, so thank you. I don't know if we've congratulated one of our businesses enough. Ema Noodles was recognized as the #1 new restaurant in Metro Detroit. They're at 13.5 in John R. We had a restaurant a year ago rated the 6th best restaurant in Metro Detroit. So to jump all the way to #1 is pretty amazing. It's not just within the city, it's within all of Metro Detroit, as recognized by the food editor, Mark Kurlianchik from the Free Press. So that really shows that our residents and the customers, shoppers that are coming to Madison Heights can support some of the best, most creative businesses in the region here in Madison Heights. That's pretty fantastic. I want to thank our guests tonight, those who spoke at public comment, and especially those representatives from other government, MDOT, and the County Treasurer's Office. Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, you're onto something. I think even the city, maybe one of our commissions could hold a financial empowerment seminar. The treasurer has a pretty good how-to kit on to empower our residents to get their finances in order. It could be as simple as educating someone from Madison Heights on how to open a checking or savings account, and to promote savings and paying of priority bills like taxes. And the Oakland County Treasurer's Office has a lot of resources with private organizations, and I think we can tap into that relationship. So yeah, somehow I'd like to find a way for us to host a financial empowerment workshop, especially because, as Mr. Soltis has studied over the years, many of our residents are suffering from extreme poverty. So if we can provide any comforting words and connections to be educated and empowered on how to take care of your household, I think that'd be great use of our government time. I don't think there's any other business before the City Council.
No, just that when you said that I was onto something, I thought you were about to say that you were in for karaoke. So.
I'll wear my Spice Girl costume. We'll see what happens. This meeting is adjourned.